Hi, I'm John Salustri, contributing editor to GlobeStreet.com, which is powering SIOR Live. We're at the SIOR conference in Las Vegas. I'm really happy to have a really rare treat for me because we have the current, the future, and then the next after that future. Yes, that is an English word. Presidents of SIOR. Reading from my left to right, we have Mike Hillis, Angela West, and Allen Gump. Folks, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've had a great relationship as your exclusive media sponsor for 3 sessions now, and it's been wonderful for us. I know it's been helpful for you as well. At this conference, what do each of you find is the major takeaway? Mike?
Well, I think the exciting thing about this conference is that SIOR is really making a comeback in participation. As we went through the recession, it was difficult. It's expensive for people to travel, and our attendance at these events went down. And we're back to 2007 and 8 participation in this conference.
That's wonderful.
I think that's important, but I think also the content that we've been able to develop, I don't think you'll find anybody that's attending the conference that doesn't feel they have some very strong take-home information and value. Mm-hmm.
Angela, what's it been for you?
We just came out of the Ron Insana session, and I thought that was one of the great highlights of the session. He was both entertaining and very informative at the same time, and that's sometimes a very difficult match to make, but I thought it was just a fabulous presentation.
He was also, for me, surprisingly optimistic about our place in the global marketplace, because we've heard such negative news about how we're sort of losing our grasp, and it was kind of nice to hear that it's much firmer.
I agree. It's very reassuring.
Absolutely.
Very, very well founded. So
yeah.
I thought it was a fantastic session.
Alan, how about you?
Yeah, the last couple of sessions, I feel like we've had a much more positive feel from the membership. The networking is in full swing. People are feeling good again. Deals are getting done, and I think the major takeaway is that while the market isn't fully back in every market in the country, I think in a lot of cases it is, and I think that a lot of the brokers are feeling pretty good about where things are.
I want to take advantage of all of you, in the most professional sense, of course, as leaders. How do each of you define leadership for yourselves? And Mike, we'll start with you again.
Well, I mean, for me, my personal experience has been with the strongest leaders that I've affiliated with, has been that the leadership has a very clearly defined goal. They create a feeling and a understanding amongst their members of what the institution's all about, the culture, and I think that that's what good leaders, if they can define that clearly and then stay out of the way of the members to facilitate it, that's good leadership in my book.
Good leader gets out of the way.
Yeah.
I like that. Angela, you and I talked about this, and the story appeared on Globe Street last week, but reiterate what you were telling me, please.
Well, in the most simple terms, right, it's leaders are people that are followed, right? And so I guess in the most basic form, we have to make sure that people, agree with the vision that we have and are willing to take actions necessary to kind of move from the point A to point B that we had talked about in our presentation. So in the most simplest terms, I think that's the easiest way to define it for me.
Alan, how about you?
I've always been a fan of the phrase servant leadership, and I think that I think the best leaders in this organization in the past have been people who have served for long periods of time. They've done a lot of different jobs. They're not necessarily doing it for themselves. They're really doing it for the benefit of the organization. And I think that's been the attraction for SIOR to me. I grew up in an office with a past national president of SIOR. And
who's that?
Pete Baldwin. Pete was president. And as a result of that, I got to know some of the other past presidents pretty well. Dan Wilkinson is another example. And, these are kind of role models for me. These are people who really were there for the benefit of the society, not for themselves, not for their company necessarily, not for really any other reason than to serve the membership. And of course, you've got to be a good listener. You've got to listen to what the membership. You can't have any preconceived notions of how things need to be, because that's the way they've always been. And I think the combination of those two, people who are servant leaders who are there really just for the benefit of the organization and also are willing to listen to them, that to me makes the best leader.
It's very much like very much like the higher purpose that we heard about at the first presentation, the Futurist. It's about contributing to something that's larger than yourself that will live on, right? So It's about kind of creating a common collective good, right? That's a higher.
I'm always happy when I hear people talk about servant leadership, because it was bandied about a while ago, and I think it's a much underused and underrated concept. And it also it gets to the heart of leadership as being about the people you're leading, as opposed to your position or power. And I think that's really cool. What is the biggest challenge to successful leadership, Angela?
Perhaps balance, because there are so many different things that an organization of this size is trying to accomplish simultaneously.
Right.
I think that part of the challenge is to make sure that you're creating action plans and providing funding for those initiatives that are most important for the strategic long-range vision, which is why we're undergoing the process that we're undergoing in terms of a complete evaluation of where we are and where we need to go. It's something that we've taken on and we'll be completing this summer. So we're just trying to take a step back, look very long range, and make sure that we're doing the right things, not only for the next 2 or 3 years when we're all in power, but really to create the foundation for everyone that will follow and to create a nice, stable organization that will endure.
Who's your model? You mentioned a couple of the gentlemen that you worked for. Who are your models as leaders, Alan? Who do you look up to?
I think they are, and I think SIOR has had a great, we've had a great history of some really superior presidents and leaders, and some of the best leaders in SIOR have not been necessarily the national president. We've had a lot of really good people that have served and done a lot of good things for the society, but they never really, just for whatever reason, they didn't choose to want to take that role on, but they've done a lot of other things for the society. And I think, I've got a lot of different people in the society that I really admire, because I think they have taken the role of doing for the society without really any concern of getting credit for it, of getting recognition, and yet they're kind of the behind the scenes. They do a lot of the committee work. They lead a lot of committees. They do a lot of things, but no one except for those of us that are in leadership. Probably not many people really know who those people are. But I think I could throw out some names, but I think a lot of them we know who they are. And again, some of them may end up in the future becoming going through the chain of command, so to speak, but a lot of them really are satisfied not to do that. To my mind, those are the people that I really admire as much as anybody, just because they are true servant leaders. They're doing it for the benefit of everybody.
Good answer. Mike, how about you? Who do you look up to?
Well, I would say, first of all, to reflect on the question that you asked Angela earlier, one of the challenges SIOR has, like any volunteer organization, is kind of a revolving door of the leadership. In other words, I'm president for 1 year, you're gonna do the same, and Alan's going to do the same. And so to build an organization that has common goals and objectives and really understands where they're going, it's very difficult when you're having leadership changes at the top all the time. That's why what Angela referred to as the the process of going through this strategic planning that we're going through is so critical, because we hope to build a roadmap so that whoever's after Alan knows where we're headed, knows what the initiatives need to be to get us there and so forth, and provide that continuity. As it relates to leaders that I look up to, certainly I would reflect my experience in in SIOR, there's been some great people that we've had in leadership roles, and I think part of the process is the integration, where you come in as a vice president, and then the president-elect, and then president, and then you have one more year as the president, the past president. You get a little bit more of the continuity than you would in just a one-term kind of a deal. But I would say the most effective leader that I've had experience in my career with, I worked in '84 on the Olympic Organizing Committee, and Peter Uberoth, who headed that up, was a tremendous leader. And the reason he was so good is that everybody understood what the goal was. There was no question as to what my agenda is versus what the organization's agenda is. It was the fact that July 27th, opening ceremonies going on, whether we had bombs or boycotts or whatever, and everybody focused on that goal, and that's why it was so successful.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
In your roles as, one of the first interviews I ever had was with the incoming president of IFMA at the time. He worked for TRW in L.A., and I said, what do you feel about your presidency? And he said, actually this is towards the end of his presidency, he said, I loved being elected. He said, and I loved that it's done. Now I can get back to business. As you get ready...
I know the feeling.
I'm sure you do. You'll feel it soon. As you wrap up, and as you come in, and as you start gearing up and planning what your presidency is going to look like, for each of you, what's the message to your constituency, not just the people who are here in Las Vegas, but to SIOR?
Well, I guess my comment would be this, because of the way we're structured, that no one president is going to have some global initiative that is credited to their term of office. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're completing several really important goals now that were started years ago. Just so happens that I'm the president when that's occurring, and I think my advice is understand the plan as we develop it going forward, and implement that, and stay on course. Don't try to reinvent the wheel on a yearly basis.
Right. Angela?
I think for me it's about ensuring that we have a thriving organization that continues to get infused by younger members, diverse candidates, and more office brokers as well.
Do you have an idea about how to go about that?
Absolutely. It's an organization that's a fairly challenging to get in. There's a lot of requirements. There are barriers to entry, and we've structured it purposefully that way. We want to make sure that the standards of excellence are very, very high. It's a high bar to achieve. So it's very difficult to achieve your designation until you're in your late 30s, really, mid 30s and up. And so by default, that creates a organization that's demographically older than a younger generation. I think it serves us well. I think it is where we want to be, but it's just to make sure that we create those opportunities for once they've gained the status and the production requirements necessary and the transactional experience, that we welcome into the fold.
Very
and make it a meaningful organization for them.
Alan, what about you?
To follow up on Angela's point, I think and getting back to the sort of the challenges of the organization, we are a diverse group. We are not one size fits all by any stretch.
Right.
And we have a lot of members that are part of national real estate organizations. We have a lot of members that are independent organizations, independent small shops, some of them in large markets, some of them in small markets. We have large chapters, we have small chapters. We really cover a wide range. And with our candidate program that we've got going, which is to encourage younger people to come into SIOR even prior to qualifying, there are some requirements still, but a younger person who is in the business can get in to SIOR and start coming and becoming involved. That said, we have a wide range of interest, and we have a wide range of, we have a lot of members that are SIORs that really maybe don't do brokerage as much as they used to, and they're more in the ownership side or they're in the development side. But they still come, a lot of investors. With that wide of a range of interest, I think Angela's point is spot on, and that is to have a balanced organization that does meet the needs of everyone, because there are a lot of common interests that we have. There are a lot of common threads throughout our commercial real estate industry. And it's important, though, that we address all of that. And, of course, different people want to see different things happen, and so you do want to have a balanced organization and not tend to lean one way too far or the other. So I think that's a great word. I think that is something that we seek to achieve, because you want to, and it's not that we're trying to be all things to all people, not by any means, but I do think that we need to make sure that we are relevant. I will also throw out that we have come light years in our website and and what we have done with regard to our technology. We have an entire technology group that didn't exist just several years ago, and now we are addressing that because we know that in order to stay up, we've got to, and it's a very, very powerful website. It can do all kinds of great things for us, and so we're clearly addressing those things and making sure that we are staying up to date, current, and relevant.
Excellent. I really want to thank you all for the time that you spent. It was fun for me and very informative. I really appreciate it, and I know you had a good time as well. I want to thank you for joining us on Globe Street TV.